Back in the 60s, most of us had worked out roughly where we stood on the issues of apartheid and playing games with South Africa. But that was 20 years ago. On Friday, the English Rugby Football Union will decide whether or not to go ahead with its scheduled tour of South Africa in 6 weeks' time. Has South Africa changed enough to make us dust off our old convictions, re-examine our prejudices? Should we be encouraging South Africa for the modest steps it's taken towards integration in sport? Anyway, if apartheid is one of the great moral issues of the world, what on earth are we doing leaving it to 15 sportsmen to represent the country and the country's conscience? Or has conscience simply become a spectator sport? If we knew where we stood, we didn't all take the same stand, of course. Some marched with Peter Hain in the 60s and early 70s to stop the Springbok tour. Others clung to the innocent ideal that politics had no place in sport. Some felt it was either futile or frivolous to make a mere rugby pitch into an ideological battleground. But few stood on the sidelines then. A generation on, the generation of protest may still scour the supermarket shelves for a non-South African avocado pear, but the passions are duller now. Anyway, sport, and sport was what it was all about, wasn't it? Sport in South Africa has changed over the years. South African-born journalist Paul Martin has no great reason to be fair to the country of his birth. He was branded as a dissident. The authorities wouldn't even let him home to see his dying father. But he gives South Africa credit for racial progress in sport, where credit he feels is due.
I think they've taken major steps, particularly when you consider that the South African regime 6 or 7 or 8, even 10 years ago, was totally against the idea of racial mixing. One prime minister said that there would only be a black man in a Springbok jersey over his dead body. He did die, actually, last year. And there are black men in Springbok jerseys. There are also black men playing at provincial level. There are black clubs playing against white clubs. What there isn't at the moment in rugby is enough integration at schools level, only on a very peripheral level when you talk about schools. There's also separate racial structures for blacks, coloureds and whites, although there's a lot of mixing taking place between them. So the last vestiges of apartheid have not yet been removed from rugby.
South Africa reacted to its sporting isolation from the world by changing the public complexion of its sport and challenging the world to acknowledge its giant stride towards normality.
Out come the Bucks, and it's a big moment for Errol Tobias.
To dedicated opponents of apartheid, the tactic gloriously misses the point. Sport was never the issue, merely the symbol. The real problem was the racialist state the sportsman, black or white, represented.
Errol Tobias adds to his international points tally.
Hypocrisy and humbug, says South Africa. It was white sport you attacked and mixed sport we gave you. What more do you want?